My mom spent 15 years telling everyone she was putting money aside for my future. There was no money. I didn't find out until I was 22, sitting in her living room with a job offer in another city and asking if now was a good time to talk about the fund she'd mentioned since I was in middle school. She looked at me for a long moment and then told me it had been used for other things over the years. Bills, mostly, and the kitchen renovation 3 years ago. I sat with that for a minute. She'd brought up this fund at every family gathering for as long as I could remember. When relatives asked about my plans, she'd say, "Don't worry about her, we've been saving." When my grandmother offered to contribute something for my graduation, my mom said it wasn't necessary, they had it handled. She built an entire reputation around being a mother who planned ahead, who sacrificed, who took care of her child's future. None of it was real. I didn't say much that afternoon. I thanked her for telling me and drove home. I spent about a week just processing it quietly. I wasn't even angry at first. I was confused in this deep, exhausting way, like trying to remember a dream that keeps changing details every time you reach for it. Then I got angry. My mom has a large extended family, and they are close in the way that involves a lot of shared meals and everyone knowing everyone's business. My grandmother's 80th birthday fell 3 weeks after my conversation with my mom. The whole family was coming. My mom had been planning her speech for a month. She loves a moment. She loves a room. I went to the party. I helped set up. I was pleasant to everyone. My mom gave her speech about family and legacy and what my grandmother had built and passed down. It was genuinely beautiful. She talked about sacrifice and how the women in our family have always made sure the next generation had more than they did. When she sat down, my aunt asked me in front of the table how the job decision was going. She said she'd heard I had an exciting offer. I said it was going well and that I was figuring out the finances of relocating since I'd recently learned I'd be starting from scratch without the savings I thought I had. The table went quiet in that specific way where everyone heard, but nobody's sure if they were supposed to. My grandmother asked what I meant. I told her simply, not dramatically. I said the fund my mom had mentioned over the years hadn't worked out as planned and that I was adjusting my expectations, which was fine. I just needed to recalibrate. My grandmother turned to my mother. My mom's face had gone very still. She started to explain something about how financial situations change, and she'd always intended to, and the renovation had been an emergency really. And my aunt, her own sister, put down her fork and said she'd offered years ago to help contribute, and my mom had said no, because they had it covered. That landed differently than I expected. 3 other relatives had similar versions of the same story. My grandmother herself had offered twice. My mom had declined every time, citing the fund, protecting the image of a woman who had it handled. The conversation lasted a long time. My mom eventually got up and went to the kitchen. My grandmother followed her. I don't know exactly what was said in that kitchen. I wasn't trying to destroy my mother at her own mother's birthday party. I want to be honest about that. I answered a direct question. The rest of it came out because it was already there, sitting just under the surface, held together by years of my mom saying, "Don't worry, we've taken care of it." What I do know is that afterward, 3 aunts independently offered to help me with the relocation. My grandmother wrote me a check 2 days later with a note that said this should have happened a long time ago. I took the job. My mom and I have had 2 long conversations since then, hard ones. She grew up with very little, and somewhere along the way, the story of having enough became more important to her than the actual having. I understand it better now than I did. I still had to start from zero, but at least I knew the truth of it.